Hi, I'm Tom Stapleton from His True Seekers Ministry, and you can find us at endtimesprophecy.com on the internet. And we're here today with a couple of really special people, Gary and Rhonda Hinman. And you guys, you've shared your testimony with me, and I really thought it was an encouragement to see how our Father works in the lives of others. And we're told that the word of our testimony is powerful. And so, Rhonda, we're going to focus kind of on your part of the testimony today because it was just so amazing, and we want to share it with our viewers. But I want to say, Gary, you know, if she starts deviating from the truth, I want you to just kick in and keep us straight.
I'll correct her.
Definitely.
Okay? So
keep me straight.
Yeah.
So we'd just like to hear, you know, a little bit of your history. You don't have to start from when you were one,
Okay.
but, you know, a little bit to where your life really started. You started noticing some changes, and even before you really recognized who was leading in your life, you know, the direction that you were going. So pick it up from there, and if I have any questions along the way that I'm not catching, I'll stop you. But you go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I would say that I was born into a Christian family, and did that, you know, the Christian thing, not too committed at all until I was in my 20s, and then became committed and thought, okay, I'm gonna be serious about this. So I, you know, brought my kids up that way and everything. I thought I was quite committed to God, and I was diagnosed with leukemia about 12 years ago.
Oh boy.
And I remember that night after the phone call from, you know, having my blood tested, and I remember being so afraid, and I thought, oh man, I thought I was closer to God than was with this fear, but I was very fearful, bad. So that whole night, I couldn't sleep, and when I did fall asleep, it was just really bad. I had been denying all the signs of losing weight and muscle cramps and, you know, night sweats and lots of signs, but I just, you write them off, you're busy or whatever, and you just think everything's normal.
You don't want to believe anything.
No, I really didn't, and so it was really shocking to get that phone call. But so I struggled through that night, really afraid. And the next morning, my daughter at the time, 16 at the time, she came out of her room, and I was on the couch just sitting there, and she said, Mom, God talked to me last night. And
from your 16-year-old daughter.
Yes, and she was not the kid that ever talked about God. So I knew for her to say that, she was very serious. So I looked right at her and I said, I need to know what he said because I'm scared. And she said, he told me that you're going to go through this. And he's completely aware that this is happening. He's allowing it. And somehow this is going to bring glory to him. So she said, I don't know if that means you're going to get healed right away or if you're going to be sick for a while, but this is for him. And I looked at her and I said, if God told you that, then I can do this.
Right.
So from that point on, I just went through and went on the chemotherapy and all of that. And I just kept taking the medicine. I didn't know what else to do, but I was just like, well, if this is for God, I don't know how it glorifies him, but if it does, I can do it. So that was that. And then during that time, my husband at the time became sick with brain cancer.
Oh boy.
And so that was quite a crazy process, and then he died. So
And he was taking chemotherapy.
he was taking
and the
chemo and radiation and everything.
That
so
people do.
Both of us, you know, in the house are taking chemo, and it was really crazy. So then, after he died, I met this girl, a good friend now. And when I met her, she's kind of like a nutritionist, but just a very strong believer. Well, I should back up to say, during the time that my husband was sick, I had so much time that I couldn't work. I was kind of taking care of him. I was just in my Bible a lot. And I became way more serious than I ever had been before, and started to see things quite differently than I was taught in church. And I realized that there was much more to the story, and really started seeking that out. So I started realizing that the Sabbath is really a unique day, and so
the Sabbath being
not Sunday, not any day you choose, or not a day that man appointed it to be, but the day that Yahweh says
it's really
it is.
interesting, because we're told that in the last days God would pour out his Spirit on all flesh. And when we look at what the work of the Spirit is, we can see this in Ezekiel chapter 36, 26, and 27, where he said he would pour out his Spirit and cause you to walk in his statutes and judgments and do them. And it's very interesting that you were studying the Bible. And this is how he
I
works,
wanted truth.
right?
I started seeing things, and I just started praying, even if I make a fool of what I've been for, I want truth. I just want you. I just want you. And man, things started coming alive, and I started realizing that I had to make some changes, and I did. And it's a process. There's a lot to learn, but I started that process during that time.
So the Sabbath was...
The Sabbath was one of the big things, and started realizing that the feasts they had so much meaning, and that they weren't for the Jews, that they were for God's people, for his...
Whoever they were. That he gave them to the Jews because those were his people.
Yes.
They didn't decide they wanted feasts.
Right, no.
Because he called them.
Yes.
He gave them his laws.
Yes, his laws, his instructions. This is what my peculiar people will do. They're not going to do what everybody else does. So I started
the Bible
looking at
for what it said.
Yeah, and I started looking at the holidays that I was doing, and realizing they're not in the Bible, and there's nothing peculiar about doing them, because the whole world, whether they believe in God or not, they do those holidays. Everything just started clicking, making sense. So after my husband died, I decided, well, now it's just me. My kids were grown. I'm going to figure out how to get healthy. So I found this person. I had no idea what her beliefs were, but I knew she was into nutrition. And when I met her and started talking with her about her beliefs, it was like, oh man, she believed the things that I had begun to believe. So
she was a Sabbath keeper.
Yes.
Recognized the feasts and so on. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Have you ever thought that maybe you were placed in her care?
I'm thinking maybe. Yeah. Maybe there was something that wasn't just a coincidence about that. So
she's probably helped you in your spiritual walk as well as your
your
health. And
yes.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. So I went to her house to do a detox and learn to eat properly and all of these things. So the day that, I'd gone the weekend before, and a bunch of us, she said, well, we're all going to get together and pray with these people. And okay, so she said, come early. All right. So I did. And we're standing in a circle and we're praying, and this guy says, the Lord is showing me that healing's going to go out from here this weekend. And I've been in Christian circles for so many years. I take a lot of things with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. You do. And my husband had just died from cancer. So, yeah. So, you know what I'm saying. And so I thought, okay, well, as we're praying, I had this sensation that my feet started like vibrating and getting warm, and it was kind of traveling up my legs a little bit. And I literally said to myself, you are getting way too emotional. Just stop this. And I kind of just ignored it, and we finished praying, and us four ladies were in the kitchen doing dishes and stuff after, and my friend that I had met actually said, I had something really weird happen to me while we were praying. And I said, what? And she said, my feet started to get warm and vibrate. And I said, no, true, weird. And we looked at the other two and said, did that happen to you? No. And it's like, so we're going, what was that? I don't know. We didn't know. So we honestly kind of didn't even think about it again. So went back to her house, and the next morning I get this phone call from Roswell that said, Roswell is the cancer center that I would go to.
Medical institution.
Yes. I went every 3 months to have my blood work done to see, where my cancer markers were, which they had always. I had been on a chemo drug for 8 years at this point, and I always had cancer there, but it kept it at bay.
So it was
like it was a chronic cancer in my blood. So they called and said, could you come later for your appointment because our computers are down. So I had totally forgotten. I had never forgotten an appointment before, but I said, Renee, I need to leave and go to Buffalo, and I'll be back later. And she said, well, this is good because we'll see what your markers are, and we'll see in 3 months if doing the detox and eating correctly has made a difference. So she's like, this is really good timing. Okay. So before we even started, I had my blood work done. And it takes 2 weeks to get your blood work back. It's a molecular number. It takes a long time. So we went through 2 weeks of detoxing, 2 weeks of praying and seeking the Father big time. And the very last day, the 4 of us women that were all doing this detox together were in the back room just praying. And I said to them, you guys, I had a dream the week that my husband died, the very week he died. And this dream has haunted me for 6 months, because it had been 6 months since that time. And I said, the only person I've told is my one daughter. And I don't know what it means, and it haunts me. So what is it? So I told them the dream, and they all said, well, let's pray, and we'll see if the Father tells us. Well, this was the dream. I'm at the top of a mountain, sitting in a truck, and the windshield is smashed. And at the top of this mountain, it's pouring rain. To get to the bottom of the mountain, it's nothing but mud and rocks, and you have to go down these curves. And my husband, who had died, he's very sick. I look over at him, and he's really sick, and I say, we're going to get to the bottom.
This is
my dream.
And this is when he was still alive. This is at the end, kind of at the end of his life.
He had already died, and this is that following week I have this dream.
Okay.
He's in the truck with me. He's
this
sick.
Is connected to that.
Yes. Yes. So I drive down this mountain. I can barely see. I almost go off the cliff, constantly off the side. I get to the bottom. I look over at him, and I say, we made it. And in my dream, I hear the voice of God say, you almost killed him, but in the end, I saved him.
Wow.
And I was so devastated because I had this dream. I woke up and it was just haunting me. And I'm like, why? Why would God say that to me? So I asked my friends, do you have any idea what this would mean? No, I don't, but let's ask. So we started praying and praying, and praying. And we were just praying about many different things, but we would pray about this, and all I can say is, as strange as this sounds, at one point while we were praying, I had an illumination in my head or in my brain or in my thoughts or however you want to say it, like a light, illuminated. And I heard a voice say, it was a spirit of guilt that made you sick and has kept you sick. And I sat there and I'm thinking, what was that? It was so, nothing I would have come up with myself, nothing. And I'm thinking, a spirit of guilt made me sick and has kept me sick? And I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm just thinking about all of this, what that means, like, because of the power that we have in us, of the authority to use Yeshua's name to cast out demons and to be set free
From guilt.
from guilt and shame, all these things. And I'm pondering all this, and it's just, oh man, so I don't say anything because they're still in heavy prayer, and I just don't say anything. So I'm just thinking about all this and thinking of what this means. And they're continuing to pray. And then at this other point, this young girl that had been really messed up on drugs for many years, and I saw the power of God working in her, that she was clean, and I love this girl. And she put her hand on my leg and started to pray for me. And that was so awesome to me because of what I was seeing God do in her, change her. And anyway, when she started praying for me, again, this illumination happened. And this is what I heard this time. That dream, I never said that to you. I would not talk to you that way. It was that lying spirit of guilt that gave you that dream.
Because that's what the dream brought on.
More
time.
guilt.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt so guilty, like, of everything I'd ever done.
Oh my goodness. Now, I just got to stop you there because we have admonition in the Bible in John. It says, test the spirits. Isn't that amazing?
Right.
We know that in the last days, God says He's going to pour out His Spirit on all flesh, and men and women would have dreams and visions and so on. And this is what, when somebody tells me they have a vision or a dream, and I've talked to people a lot lately that have had these dreams, and it's most interesting. Like I used to be kind of afraid of that, dreams, but because of what's written,
right.
If somebody comes to me and they says they have a dream, I'm listening.
Yes.
Especially if I know they have a heart after the Father.
Yeah.
And have committed their lives to Yeshua. It just could be that these dreams are for real. It wasn't the pizza you might have eaten the other night.
Well, this
or
dream was definitely for real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the spirit that it came from was not.
Sure.
In testing it, because it made me feel so guilty and so horrible. I shouldn't have gone on for 6 months of thinking that why would God say that to me? God just wouldn't say that to His kids and leave them in that place.
Right.
And I should have known that. But I guess I didn't. I didn't think it through.
So now you have this
spirit
of guilt kind of being removed from the...
So then basically at that point, when that happened and God really revealed that to me, that was not me in that dream. That was that same spirit that has made you sick and kept you sick. And I'm like, man, this spirit has got to go. I mean, I do not have to live in this anymore. And so I said, you guys, I'm crying, and they just start like jumping up and rejoicing, like, that's it. We rebuke the spirit. You are healed. You're healed. It's gone. God has obviously told you this to you'd be released from this. It was the most amazing day. And so of course I did that. We prayed that, with the power of Yeshua.
Did you feel anything, or?
I have to say, I felt completely blown away that Yahweh would speak to me like that in such a powerful way that, we don't, every day that we talk to Him, we don't get that kind of revelation.
No.
So it was big. Yes, it was very big.
So you had a peace come over you.
I did. I had a peace come over me, and I drove home. It was an hour and a half drive home. And that whole way home, I thought, I'm never going to be sick again. When you're told by the doctors over and over again, this medicine's for the rest of your life as long as you can live on this medicine, because, it's pretty tough on you and but we were having good results, pretty good. You don't think you're going to be around that long. It was amazing. Yeah. So anyway, I went home, and I did not dare to tell my daughter, who was living with me at the time with her husband, just while they were getting their house finished.
Is this the one that
Same
had that
one.
dream? Okay.
The same, my youngest daughter, the same one that told me God had spoken to her 8 years before, when she was 16 years old. Now, she's 26, and she's changed a lot, and now she reads her Bible a lot. And so she was going to work, and I said, would you just pray with me before you go to work? Sure. So we sat down on the couch and we prayed. And I said, I have to confess something to you. Just what? I said, I didn't want to tell her that I quit taking my chemo because her dad had just died from brain cancer 6 months earlier. And so in my mind, I'm thinking that she's going to say, oh, please don't do that. I don't want to lose both of my parents right now. I told her, I said, I'm not taking the chemo anymore. And she said, I hope not. I jumped off the couch. I was like, what do you mean you hope not? She goes, Mom, didn't you get my text when you were at your friend's? And I said, no, I didn't. And she said, I was sitting here last Sabbath reading in Chronicles that King Ezra got sick in his feet, and he consulted not the Lord, but the physicians only. And she said, when I read that, I don't know why, but I knew that you were supposed to stop the chemo, that you weren't not to be with the doctors anymore, that you were to work with the Lord.
Oh, my.
And I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, do you realize that you're the one that Yahweh told in the beginning that this was only for a time, and that he was going to use this for his glory?
The Bible stories, and this is what we got to do, is we got to weigh all these things with Bible stories. It's amazing because Yeshua was presented with a problem. Lazarus is sick.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he said. This is going to be for his glory.
Yeah.
And you just had to wait. People had to wait. Well, if you would have been here, Master, Lazarus would never have died. No. We got this thing.
Well, it's so cool because it's like, Yahweh gives you, it wasn't just Lydia that told me that in the beginning. There was this other guy that I never knew that he even read his Bible. And when I told him, no, I can't do that with you, he wanted me to play some music with him that weekend. I said, I can't. I just found out I have leukemia, and I'm not supposed to leave until they get me regular, And it just weirded him out really bad. And I called him back and I said, hey, I'm sorry. That was don't worry. God's got this. I know that. And he goes, no, I know that. You know how I know? He said, I've been sitting here thinking about what you told me. And this is John 9. And he goes, do you know John 9? I said, nope, let me call you right back. I didn't know what he was talking about. Well, Yeshua and his disciples are walking through the village, and they see a man that's been blind from birth. And the disciples say to Yeshua, who sinned? Was it him or was it his parents? And he says, no, this is not about that. This is so that the glory of Yah can be seen. And he goes, that's what this is. This total stranger told me that. He goes, I know it. I'm just sitting here and I know this is what this is. And I said, well, that's what my daughter's told. So I had all these confirmations that you're okay. I don't know what's going to happen, but I knew I was okay. So anyway, back to that morning on the couch. So Lydia and I, it's my daughter Liz. So we go through all of this, and I went off for the day, and I came home, and there was a message on my answering machine from Roswell, the cancer center, saying, Rhonda, this is Jeffrey. I need you to call me about your molecular number.
Ouch.
Ah.
What's that about?
Right. Yeah. So because 2 weeks earlier I had been with my friends and went to get that, and I hadn't even thought about it. I wasn't even thinking about it. So
That's kind of scary, because anytime I've gone for a physical, they tell me, this is the way they do it up north, they tell me that you won't hear from us unless there's a problem.
Well,
And it's like, oh my.
yes. So I sat down. I sat down in the chair next to the phone and I prayed. Father, who am I going to believe? What if my numbers are off the chart? Am I going back on that chemo? Am I going to believe them? Or am I going to believe you? I'm going to believe you. No matter what this says, I'm not going back on the chemo. I believe you. So I called, and he says, yeah, this is amazing. You are inconclusive. I go, well, what's that mean? He goes, that means we can't find any cancer cells in you. He says, in 8 years, we've not gotten to this. So the medicine is finally working. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I went for how many months? 10 months?
10 months.
Probably 10 months. And I never told them I wasn't taking the chemo. But I kept going every 3 months for my blood work. Getting the same result. Nothing there. So then
you quit what you were doing. This is, the epitome of insanity, right? You got different results because you stopped doing the same thing over and over again.
That's true. That's very true. Yes. So I finally get a phone call from Roswell saying, you're not renewing your prescriptions. And I said, no, I guess I should tell you I haven't taken that in months. Well, you are coming in for your next appointment, right? Oh, yeah, I'll come. I'm not afraid. Sure, I'll come. So at this time, I had become being friends with my now husband here, and so he went with me, and we're sitting in the office waiting for the doctor to walk in. And when she walked in, she was not happy, and she walks in and she said, I understand that you aren't taking your chemotherapy anymore. And I said, no, I haven't taken it in months. And she said, well, we'll do a molecular test today. In 2 weeks, we'll have the results, and I fully expect that cancer to be back.
Almost like she wanted it to be back.
Almost like you dare defy me. I never told you could stop taking that. It was really... And I looked at him with a look and said to her, that's really funny, because I fully expect it not to be. And I thought, I'm not letting you speak that stuff over me, and I'm not going to be intimidated by man. In Psalm 118, it talks about that. It talks about, I will live and proclaim the glory of Yahweh. And in that too, it says something about, the fear of man or something that but I thought, no, I'm not going to be intimidated by that. And so 2 weeks went by and cancer still wasn't there. I'm sure she was super bummed out, but
boy.
So yeah.
So you haven't been.
So it's been over 3 years since I have been completely healthy, very healthy.
You look fairly healthy to me. Like really healthy.
Really healthy.
Yeah, she's doing good.
Yeah.
That's tremendous.
And
so has it been for his glory? Are you giving him the glory?
I am giving.
Are you giving
when people try to say, well, I understand you're eating healthy and that's made you, I'm like, that, I am eating healthy. And the reason is because Yah gave me life again. And I want to respect that and not put bad things into my body when he has given me a gift like that. And he's given me lots of gifts, lots of gifts.
Gave you a husband.
Gave me an awesome husband.
Gave me a great gift too.
Yeah.
Lots of gifts.
That's tremendous.
I want him to get all the glory, every bit. Yeah.
So now you're sharing that, your family, you're extending that blessing to your family, and you're trying to help them understand things too.
Yes.
Which who knows what would have happened to you if you kept on the chemo? We don't know.
No, we
but,
don't know.
But we generally know what happens when people stay on.
I know when I was on the chemo and I would have the EKGs done and stuff, the lady would say, peace out. I'm like, I am. No, peace, trying to make the test be okay, because it was affecting my heart a lot.
Right.
And since then, I mean, every time I go to the doctor and, blood work, it's like, you just keep getting more healthy, just stronger. And so.
That's tremendous, because you're living now and you're healthy and you're able to do his work more and more. And I know after talking to you, I can tell you're committing, both of you are committing your lives to, you're going full on.
Yeah.
What does he want us to do? You're not even going to do anything until you're convicted to do something.
Right.
His spirit, you recognize now there's two spirits, which is
man.
key. Most people don't understand that it says in John, many spirits have gone out and test the spirits.
Yeah.
So that to me is so vitally important. Everyone thinks, I'm being led by the Holy Spirit. Are you sure?
Because that spirit came to me impersonating God. In my dream, I was like, God, why are you saying that? He was impersonating God,
A counterfeit spirit.
A counterfeit
That's
spirit.
what their job is.
And literally the words that I heard was that lying spirit of guilt. Lying spirit.
Lying spirit. And we've got Bible for that. So,
Yeah.
all through your story, there's Bible to back up the concepts.
Yes.
Little different circumstances.
Right.
But we see in Kings where a lying spirit went out and deceived Ahab and so on. So we see this going all the time. That's incredible. And so you're giving him glory, and you're talking to your kids about this and friends, and so you're awakening other people to the idea of God's power in your life that you've felt.
Huge.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Huge.
Anything you would like to just say as an encouragement to others that, in regard to possibly healing?
Healing.
We're told that God is going to put those gifts back into the church.
Sure.
And it's interesting, as you started to walk closer with him, these things started happening.
It's true.
And that's, and it's not that he heals everyone.
No.
Some people have to go through, the disciples were all killed. The record sort of has it that they were all killed and lost their lives because of the word and so on. So, but he has healing power.
Yes. Yes. And the thing that I find so interesting too is that, in this day and age, you kind of don't think about a spirit making you sick. You don't. You don't. And you read in the word that sometimes, like, evil spirits made people, the guy that said my son throws himself into the fire. I mean,
right.
And why don't we realize that nothing's changed? These spirits still have reign. Power.
Mm-hmm.
And yes.
And they work on, and the conscience and stuff like that. They work on that, the spirit of guilt.
Yeah.
These are specialists. They're spirits that are specialists in that field.
Yeah.
And they'll go after the people that maybe have done things or whatever, and they just focus on that and get you to get so down on yourself. The hospitals, and I really think that there's a lot of drugs being passed over the counter because of the spirit of guilt.
Agree.
Is that so much work? There's a lot of people in hospitals and even in psych wards and stuff. If they could be relieved from the guilt and some of the things they've done in their life, it just haunts them. And that's not the Holy Spirit bringing that to people to, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So, the power of this, this God, this,
get thee behind me, Satan. That's
amazing.
That's really what it is. Tremendous. Well, I want to thank you so much, and thank you. I'm so glad that you got to meet her, and
me too.
And you guys got together because you're both really committed, and an encouragement to each other, and encouragement to me too, to see how the Holy Spirit has brought you guys together. and you're both growing at really good speed, and it's really nice.
It's pretty exciting.
So thank you again, and yeah, appreciate it. You're overcoming by the word of your testimony, and every time you share that with people, I'm sure it just really reinforces I am going the right way. So that's tremendous. And everyone out there I know has a testimony, and don't think that you don't have something that you can share with people that's going to encourage others as well. And I get encouraged when I hear something like that. I want to thank you guys very much for doing this for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
And to our viewers, I want to say thank you for hearing. I hope you're encouraged as I was. And yes, thank you very much.
If you've been blessed by the information shared here today, please consider adding this ministry to the ministries you support. Thank you.